You're the data-driven generation. Everything in media is measured now. Everything you do. What you watch, what you eat, where you go, what you recommend and prefer, all those logos that you see there, those are all businesses that are built on one thing. We know who you are. We know an enormous amount of stuff about you. We know what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, and we sell that. So if you're creating media, you live in that world with all of that data. I should know. So I'm the head of TV at Twitter. I'll explain what that is in a second. But every 2.5 days, we get 1 billion tweets. It took 3 years. The company's only 6 years old. The first 3 years, we got to 1 billion tweets. We now get them every 2.5 days. That's photo, video, text. It's what George Carlin used to call brain droppings, right? Just stuff people think about. It's the Arab Spring, revolutionary movements. It's inspiration, aspiration, desires. It's people expressing who they are. We take all that data, all that text, the videos, the photos. We take who said it, where you said it. Now, you don't have to tell us how old you are. You don't have to tell us where you live. We can infer all of that. We can figure out where you are. We can probably figure out your marital status. We can probably figure out if there's a person you're going out with. We can probably figure out who your friends are. We can probably figure out if you would be interested in some third-level indie band that's playing at Coachella. We can figure all that stuff out about you. And if you create media, that's what's happening to your world, is that kind of intense measurement of who's going to like this, why are they going to like this, where's it going to go, what kind of relationship are you going to have with people. And that was a great lesson. This is where I flamed out. I went to work for Jim Brooks, and I had a choice. Oh, The Simpsons has been on for like 2 or 3 years. You could go work for The Simpsons, or he's going to create this other show called Phenom. Yeah, you all remember that show, right? I worked on Phenom. Right after that, I worked on In Living Color, which was incredibly inventive, creative, wild cast, really hardworking. I learned the great lesson of TV, which is that most TV jobs, nobody will read your words, including the actors who are supposed to be delivering them. What we ended up writing in Living Color were blueprints. Here's a blueprint for a sketch, except for Men on Film, which I wrote a whole bunch of those, and those guys were great. I worked on Cheers, which is essentially a show that was written by playwrights, and it felt like it was written by playwrights, and it was an awesome job for writing, because they really did respect what you wrote. The interesting thing about Cheers, in terms of career stuff and stuff to watch out for, at one point, I called my wife. I met my wife at Letterman. She was the head of the talent department, so her department booked all the guests. And she is extremely savvy about show business. So I call her up, I go, hey, you won't guess who's hanging out on the set now with Ted Danson. So she went through this 20 questions thing, and she got to Whoopi Goldberg. At which point she said, the show's over. And I went, why? She goes, because Whoopi will convince him he's a movie star and he's going to quit the show. 3 weeks later, Ted Danson announced, I want to go make movies and leave the show. I was privileged to be there for the last 2 years. It was kind of great. I worked with Jon Stewart for a short bit on MTV and on a syndicated show that he did after that. And then I heard this sound. Does anybody recognize this? This blew my mind. It changed my life. It was actually 1984 when I first heard that, so I was on Letterman at the time. And I suddenly went, oh my God, everything's going to get connected. Everything will get delivered everywhere. Everybody can have whatever they want, whenever they want it. Everybody can talk about it. It was literally like one of those moments. I don't know how it happened. My head just blew up. I have an email address that goes back to 1984, fred@well.com. So I used to say to people, I have t-shirts older than you. I can now say I have email address older than you. They also gave me the chance to do something on television. So the Disney Channel had a problem. The problem was they had a block of kids programming on Sunday afternoon, and they repeated the exact block of programming on Saturday afternoon. And nobody was watching it on Saturday afternoon. So they said, okay, Mr. Internet Guy, can you come up with something? So I came up with a whole bunch of characters called the Zoogs, who lived in the Zether, and you could, get on your computer and interact with the Zoogs, and you would interact with the Zoogs on Sunday, and this is how primitive this was, because this was 97. We literally would take the stuff that was left on a forum, on a bulletin board, on the Disney Channel website, find the best ones, go into an edit room during the week, and put them in a chyron or a lower third underneath the programming and put it on Saturday. The Saturday ratings actually were better than the Sunday ratings. Like, kids just loved seeing their stuff on TV, and it worked out kind of great. There's a little side story that doesn't have anything to do with your careers, but I have to tell you the story. I come into work one day. We have a problem with the bulletin boards, with content on the bulletin boards. Okay, let's go meet about it. So we all sat down. It turned out that somebody was leaving insanely heavy-handed, fundamental, Christian, right-wing, evangelical stuff for the kids to read. On the bulletin board, they couldn't figure out what was going on because they had hired a monitoring service to monitor this stuff. It turned out that the monitoring service had outsourced the work to prisons. And there was a prisoner in a prison, and I want to say Indiana just for the joke, but I won't. And he was literally lecturing these kids on the bulletin board. It was fabulous. I went to work and did a whole bunch of work at MTV Networks, who through the 90s and the early 2000s were constantly trying to figure out how do we put the internet and television together. I did two things that I really, really liked doing. One was I created Best Week Ever, which is basically how could you put the blog sensibility onto TV. We did that. The other thing, which has nothing to do with the internet, but I'm insanely proud of it. I produced the concert for New York City, which happened about 6 weeks after 9/11, and was this awesome moment. And when I got home at 5 in the morning after that concert, my wife rolled over and said, "Quit now. You're done." I then, after this was 2008, 2009, I decided, I'm a smart guy, I'm going to start my own business. So, everyone in media, all of you will at some point be motivated to go out and start your own business. Please do it. Please do it early. Please do it when you're willing to live on ramen noodles. It is really hard. And I discovered in myself that I really didn't have the stuff to do this. The other thing that I discovered, I basically, right when apps started, I decided I was going to start a company that made funny apps. The company was called iLarious. I learned that making an app and just throwing it out there is a lot like putting an index card up in Times Square and hoping people will see it. It was a rough experience. I'm thrilled that I did it. I worked at Travel Channel for a short time and was doing, again, a ton of stuff where we're putting the internet and the shows together, including a bunch of stuff that I did with Tony Bourdain and No Reservations, which led to me going here to Twitter. So what does the head of TV do at Twitter? We don't make any content. I know somebody sent that question in. Twitter does not make content. We will never make content. We are a vast public space that people come to share what they care about, to share their content, to share their opinions, to find out what the public conversation is. 95% of the public conversation about television happens on Twitter. So, and then there are about 40% of the TV audience has some kind of device in their hands while they're watching, and about half of them, so 20, 30 million people a night, are using Twitter to talk about what they're watching.